So last week, Lucid Stock was down about 10%. It's down 7% on the month, but up 3% in the last 3 months. It does look as if now Lucid is looking bearish and it might have further to fall before it finds support. So in this video, I'm going to look at last week's price action and offer some commentary on where I think Lucid might go next. Let's take a look. Now, if you enjoy my analysis of Lucid Stock or other stocks on my channel and you find value, you might also find value in my email trading tips newsletter. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you sign up, I'll send you trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. Check it out. So Lucid Stock was down 10% last week, and it does look as if it might have further to fall. Now, we know that Lucid Stock is in a long-term downtrend. It's been looking for support around about this level here of $1.93. It pushed off it in November 2024, and it came close in March 2025. Since that time, it has formed a short-term counter trend, which is in keeping with the previous price action. It came up to this level in May 2025, a few weeks ago, and since then has fallen away. Now, there was a short-term counter trend forming here. You can see I've marked a trend line. We did have consecutive higher highs and higher lows, confirming there was a short-term trend in place. However, the buying interest did run out and price peaked here at around about $3, and it's now fell away for 3 weeks in a row. And in the last 2 weeks, it has broken the short-term downtrend line. Particularly last week, it has fallen away heavily. It opened last week at 226. The low was 208, and it ended up closing a bit higher at 215. So right now, it looks as if Lucid Stock may fall further and come back to test this level once again of $1.93. So it's looking bearish right now. If we look on the daily chart for Lucid Stock, we can see exactly what happened last week. So on the Friday, there was a big sell-off, and it was just that day, the previous week, that broke the trend line. Now last week, the price action moving downwards did continue. It's quite steady. You can see on Monday, it did trade down to around 212 before some buyers came back in, ended up closing halfway up the bar. Tuesday was an inside bar, so indecision. Slightly more bullish on the Wednesday, closed higher. Thursday, more selling, and then Friday, another inside bar. So overall, for the week, we've got a red down bar. So if price does keep falling next week, and it does fall into this level of 193, what could happen next? I think if it finds support at 193, we will see a brief rally to the upside, just the same as what's happened here. You can see each time it's found support, there has been a buying surge and price has come back up each time. So I think if it comes back into this level here of 193, we're going to see a bit of a spike, just like it has before. Now the question is, if it does move up from this level here, how high will it go before potentially dropping away again? If we look at the previous price action on the weekly chart, and specifically we look at the previous price peaks and the distance between them, it can give us an idea of how far Lucid might move on this next counter trend price action. So if we look at this previous price peak here, we can see that price fell around about 16% into this next counter trend peak here. On the next move, we can see it did a similar thing. So from this peak here to this peak here, again, it was around about 16 to 18%. And in this last move here, from this peak here to this peak here, we can see that price once again moved down around about 16%. So we got a drop of about 16.5, 18.4, 16.4. So if Lucid Stock follows this trend once again, we might see that once price trends up towards here, the peak it creates is more than likely going to be 16 to 18% below the previous peak as per the trend. So therefore, we might see that price peaks out around about here, let's say 16.5. If Lucid Stock follows this trend, we're more than likely going to see a move up. So if Lucid Stock follows this previous pattern and creates this counter trend peak, we might see price come down into this level here, then the counter trend peak, if it copies the previous pattern, will come back up from here and challenge this level here, corresponding to the 17% drop as per the previous peaks. And that level looks to be around about $2.50. If it does that and then falls away, it might come back down again and perhaps challenge $2 or the 193 level again. So that's one possible scenario over the next 6 to 12 weeks for Lucid if it mirrors the previous price action. Don't forget, this would be a short-term counter trend into that peak of around about 250, and that would correspond with the longer term trend. Don't forget, we've still got a long-term downtrend in place, so we have to expect the short-term price action to conform with the longer-term price action because it's a stronger trend. So I think this price action over the next 6 to 12 weeks is more likely. Support at 193 and then a counter trend into this peak of 250. Now, for a more bearish scenario, Lucid Stock might fall through the level of 193 over the next 6 to 12 weeks. That is definitely possible. So we might see price action trade down into this level maybe a few times. It might come down once, trade back up to $2 and then test it again. But eventually, if there's enough selling pressure, it might break through this level and come down to perhaps create a new all-time low. That's definitely possible. But I do think overall, my previous scenario is more likely. I do think it's going to find some support here before moving up. But overall, the trend is still moving downwards. So it's still a high risk investment if you're thinking about buying right now. And I think until there's a catalyst to support Lucid moving in either direction, we have to expect that there is a progressive move downwards to lower prices until something positive happens. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you bullish on Lucid? Do you think it's actually going to move up in the next 6 to 12 weeks aggressively and potentially, break this long-term downtrend? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for watching.